Hi, everybody. It is Nick Soper with Creative College Prep, and I am here with Jake Kohler, the admission counselor and athletic liaison at Ursinus College in Collegeville, Pennsylvania. You'll have to tell us where Collegeville, Pennsylvania is, Jake. We're going to dive right in with our Q&A. First things first, tell us a little bit about Ursinus, and what do you find most exciting about what's been going on there recently?
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, Nick. Ursinus College, which a little bit of an interesting name, is not in the middle of nowhere, as Collegeville almost implies. We're 25 miles northwest of Philadelphia. It's a suburban community, very much a village. That's what Ursinus is. There are really no roads that even intersect the academic community from the residential community, from the athletic community. It's 168 acres of our land. And being in a community with 1,700 students, 100% of which are undergraduate, nearly everyone, over 98%, are living on campus. There's a familiarity amongst the student population. But as an alum of the school, and as somebody who's been very lucky to work there for 3 years after that, the reality is the education is one that's shared amongst our students. The best way I can even describe our education is to go back to my first course ever, the Common Intellectual Experience, which all first-year students have together. The Common Intellectual Experience is an opportunity where every single first-year student, while not taking a class with 460 students in it, will be sharing the same curriculum within their course of 16 students. But in my first course, the teacher, Dr. Goddard, who's actually a biology professor, began class by asking somebody in the class to raise their hand if they had a dollar bill in their pocket. I just so happened to be that individual with a dollar bill in my pocket and raised my hand, thinking I was going to get my A+ in participation.
Get ripped off.
And handed a dollar bill and asked me for my own. And creatively she asked, "What do you have now?" Which the response was a dollar bill. But she then turned the table a little bit and said, "Now let's say hypothetically I gave you an idea, I shared an idea with you, and you shared an idea with me. What would you have at that point in time?" And it took me a second, but the answer was 2 ideas. We both have 2 ideas in that case. And she furthered that conversation with the class by saying that both of those exchanges can occur. Both of them are similar to education. But our education is not one that's transactional. You give something, you get something back. It's one that's shared as part of that community, as part of the community of 1,700 students and over 150 faculty that are almost all have a terminal degree. It's something that we do together. So there's a friendship amongst our studies. And over 80% of our population have a minor outside of the original major that they have, and a quarter of the population will have at least 2 majors by the time they graduate. What we do is experience, and we do that together, and we learn that that's how we grow being. That's Ursinus. That is the education I got, and why I'm nauseatingly in love with it.
I respect you for being able to admit it. It's wonderful. So, second question, what kinds of things do you find yourself looking out for in applications that really help you to determine who an Ursinus student is?
There are a lot of different components that tie into how we review. We're truly a holistic model, so we understand that there are a number of different high schools, and that each high school provides a different learning environment, no different than how our learning environment is different than others. And we don't think that you need to go through an education just like ours to come in, but we want to understand what it is that you had done and what opportunities you had and what opportunities you took advantage of that contributed to your education and where you got to. The essays, in addition to just the grades that you get in your courses and the courses that you take, the writing helps a lot. It shows us a piece of who any student is and how their brain thinks. And a big part of what we're looking for, I talked just a couple minutes ago about the village-like community, is that we're looking for good friends. We're looking for good citizens, because you're in a learning and living community. And if we have a really, really bright student, but it has no willingness to be able to communicate or try to work with the people around them, it might pose problematic when they're on campus. So we gather that from the writing samples and the personal statements and the counselor's recommendations and the teacher recommendations, and the list of activities that a student's been involved in, and all of that contributes to hopefully helping us find a good Ursinus student, which a lot of people are.
Mm-hmm. Great. And so from the past 3 years post-graduation, moving into admissions, what is your favorite story from this time?
Favorite story from this time? I'm a sentimental person, and I had a minor in coaching. Coaching is a big part of my background, so it's actually seeing the development of students. One kid in particular so I was a tour guide when I was a student as well, and I toured a student by the name of Will DeCurcio, who's currently a senior on campus. And Will happened to be interested in biology, which was my major, and happened to be a baseball recruit, which I happened to be on the team of. So I met Will and his family, who were remarkable people, and I remember that tour, and then seeing him commit to Ursinus, and then in my senior year, which was his freshman year, playing a year together and seeing how Will went from this freshman who thought he knew everything in the world to having his world almost seem like it got flipped upside down because it was a brand new environment. And having now worked at Ursinus for 3 more years, seeing his entire development, he's now the senior who is a leader on the baseball team, who works in the admission office, who is an RA. And while we followed a very, very similar path, it's not the fact that he did the things that I did. It's the fact that he's found out who he was a little bit more, and he's challenged himself. And when I see his parents and when I see his family, they don't turn to me as I was the part that helped him. It was just, we both found a community that we could grow so remarkably in. So there's some aspects of legacy, which I think are tremendous and is incredibly rewarding. But more so, it's actually seeing somebody who, it was almost like seeing myself in replay, in a lot of different ways. And that's the beauty of finding the right community. So I guess it was experiencing the community and then watching the community work on somebody very much like me do the same exact thing. And now seeing how Will's doing that to other kids, the legacy just continues. You pay it forward, and that is one of the coolest things I think I've ever seen.
That's amazing. So last question. What, as families are starting to get ready to apply this summer, I know we were talking about you're starting to work with the juniors, what sort of advice, encouragement, or maybe even words of caution do you typically offer up to the families who are just getting into this preparation process?
At this point in time, in sophomore, junior year, one of the best things to do is work with admission counselors, but see campuses. Nothing can replace that without a doubt. And while an admission counselor is an amazing person, obviously biased because I'm one of them, but my friends, my family, are in that world. Nothing can replace the actual opportunity to meet with a faculty member, a student, the people that any family spends their 4 years with. And so I'd caution, both cautionary as well as proactively, I encourage families to work with admission to get a brief understanding and introduction, but to not take the admission counselor as the face of the college. To take the admission counselor as just the greeter. And then you get to the campus and you meet the people that really matter, because one day the family, the people that we get a chance to greet, are the people that are the ones that are the community. And in small schools like ourselves that are very much intimate in nature and student-oriented, it's the students that make up the entire life, the blood of the organization, of the institution. So by relying on a college fair, by relying on just a website, which every single website is only going to have the pretty pictures, and you can have one of every type of person, and they're going to do all the cool activities, which we all offer.
What about winter?
Winter exists outside of Southern California. And it's a chance to really see what's going on there.
Right.
And later on, it's even more important, I think, to spend time with the people outside. So I guess my best piece of advice, when a student feels comfortable in whatever part of their process they are, go visit a campus and don't tell the admission counselor that you're there. Or check out social media. It's beautiful what technology has allowed us to do and allows a student to do, and you can learn a lot about a community, not just by looking at one student's post, but use the hashtag of whatever college you want, and you'll learn a lot about what's happening at that moment on that campus, and log in a couple times, follow them, track them, and you learn a lot that way, and you learn about the students, and at some point you're that student at the right community.
Man, great advice for this generation of applicants. Amazing. We're going to wrap things up for today. I'm so glad we got this chance to hear from you, Jake, and learn a little bit more about Ursinus. For the families who are interested in going even further and learning more, what do you recommend they check out?
I think website's always good, ursinus.edu. That's ursinus.edu. It's sometimes a tough one, right?
We're spelling it out as we speak.
Perfect. And in addition to that, while you're on the website, again, I know I place a lot of emphasis on the students, and that's really what we try to highlight on our website. So as you scroll through, you'll see the academic side. You'll be able to get there. That's all listed at the top, but don't miss the profiles of the students and the faculty that are right in the middle of your screen, and search and try and log and try and find more of them, because there are hundreds of students that are listed in there, and to see all of what they do will give a really good sense of all of what any student could possibly do. They're the ones to me, beyond myself and the other admission counselors. But I guess that ties into another step. If there are any other questions, reach out to myself or reach out to another one of the counselors in our office. You can do that directly via phone. You can do it directly via email, and we'll help connect you to the right people at that point as well. But enjoy it. And I really appreciate this. This is an amazing opportunity, so I'm really glad I got a chance to join you.
I'm so glad we got to speak about it. So students and families, thank you so much for being here, and please be sure to like, share, subscribe, leave comments, and come back soon for more on how to get creative on your path to college. See you soon.